I'm going to read to you something that was sent to me in my email by Bill Donahue, who has a website entitled Hidden Meanings. And I really love the way he talks about the Bible and makes sense of all the words in the Bible having allegory meaning and not literal meaning for the most part. And he sent this letter recently where he is attempting to tell people how we can communicate with those who have passed on to the other side. Now, that's something you won't hear discussed in a regular church because they think that is something just really terrible that upsets God. But Bill has a way of getting the message across, and I think this is going to be a very exciting message. And this first part I'm going to read is only part 1. There will be others, I'm sure. And so I will begin reading his words as though they were my own, because actually we are all one. And I am he, and he is me. So I make these words my own, as I believe them to be the truth. I resonate with what he has said here. And so I will begin. I will tell you something that no one has ever told you before. I will need you to take these words very slowly. I will make a revelation to you that you more than likely have never heard before. I need you to read it very slowly and think deeply on what is being said. I'm not sure I will be able to complete everything I wish to share with you in this writing. If not, we will continue in the next one. What am I referring to? Making contact with friends and loved ones who have passed away. We live together in deep love, companionship, and family with each other and with animals, and then one day that love and companionship is gone. There is a void within us that can be overwhelming. The body of a loved one failed, and everything disappeared. The personality, the hopes and dreams and ideas, the deep companionship is gone. How could this be? Can we ever come to grips with our true identity, our natural selves? This is the basic challenge to renewing our interactions with those whose bodies have shut down. Before we can do that, we have to understand our true identity. What are we? Who are we? And now that those who have passed on no longer have the bodies that we recognize, we have to ask, what and who are they? Without grasping this, all we ever have is flowers for the cemetery. Every day is Halloween. The reason I say this is because we are all dressed up in bodies, covering up our true identity. We have bodies made for us that are selected by our parents, and these bodies look like them. Then we are given names. We have no choice in the matter. Maybe they picked the name out of a hat, but that's your name. So we have bodies that cover what we really look like, and we have names, when in reality, in our true nature, we have neither. We made an offer from our natural place. It was accepted, and here we are. Your mother and father got together and created a developing fetus in your mother's womb. As the fetus was developing, there was a need to find someone to get inside of it and drive it or operate it. At that time, we were in the quantum universe with no body. Our natural instinct was to get into a body so we might experience the senses. We as photons have this instinct. So there we were, spinning through the quantum cosmos, spinning and vibrating an offer to enter somewhere. The electrons in your mother interacted with your offer and began to spin and vibrate in the same pulse as you, and the deal was made. You entered into the fetus, and it was now yours for as long as you could keep it going. Kind of like getting a new car. It's yours as long as it can keep running. We are absorbed into a body as a fetus and operate it until it breaks down. So here we are with our Halloween costumes covering up our true photon identity. Experiencing the senses and interacting with physical form until something happens. The physical form breaks down and someone close disappears. Being completely and electrically attached to our body costume, we take part in all of the sensual experiences that we longed for in our photon state. But now we experience extreme sorrow and depression when another we loved leaves because their body broke down. They have returned to the very same existence we had before we entered the fetus. They are now in the quantum world as photon, or may have taken on another body. That is the instinct of the photon. That is our natural instinct. But we miss them so, and yet it seems like they are gone from our lives forever. Isn't that strange? Here you are, a photon, inside a body. And here your loved one is, a photon, inside a body. Both of you wearing your body costume, and yet just because the other's body breaks down, their love, feeling, companionship is instantly severed, and you have no clue how to communicate with them. Shouldn't there be a way to communicate with our loved ones? Did they just disappear and cease to exist? Or maybe we simply do not understand. We have been made to not understand by those who do not understand. There we are in our little baby bodies. Not much we can do until it develops. But Mom and Dad have pretty much planned our activities, and they include going to church where the man tells us all kinds of stories about what happens when life ends. He tells us where Grandma is right now, up in heaven with the angels, singing songs with Jesus. Why, it's a regular Disneyland. But you want to communicate, but you don't know how. But you do know how. If you did not know how to communicate back and forth from the quantum world to the physical world, you would not be here now. In your photon body without a physical body, you made an offer to electrons in a physical body to enter a fetus. The electrons in the physical body communicated back and accepted your offer. You are living proof that it is possible for those in the invisible world to communicate with those in the physical world, because you did that in order to get here. Communication must be as it was then, photon to photon. Photons, which we are, either inside or outside a body, do not die. This is proven by quantum physicists in the laboratory. If the property of a photon is destroyed, the photon in the lab reappears about 3.5 feet away. Thus, when the property of the photon in the body, namely the body, dies, that photon exits the body by the right angular gyrus of the brain and is very much alive. But it is a photon of the quantum world and does not communicate with a human being in the physical world. You can't play a CD on a record player. You are a photon operating a body. You knew the photons that occupied bodies here and were part of your family and friends' surroundings. You knew them before they had bodies. But now that they have returned to their natural photon state, you are trying to communicate with them using language. Whatever language you use in the physical world does not exist in the photon world. Photons do not have mouths or ears to communicate, and yet they are intelligent and do communicate. That is what I am driving at about not being able to play a CD on a record player. To communicate with the quantum world, human language will not work. Your computer has its own language. In order for a computer to carry out its instructions, it must be addressed in computer language. Computer language is designed to communicate instructions to a machine, namely a computer. The quantum world is completely different from the physical world. And as soon as you return to your natural state, you will know that. And pick right up where you left off when you came into the physical world. Even quantum physicists had to invent a new mathematics for quantum study because in that world, 2 and 2 does not equal 4. Both sides have a problem. Those who are deceased are unable to communicate with you because they operate in the photon world. And you are unable to communicate with them because you operate in the physical world. Now, are there people in the physical world who do make contact or are contacted? Yes, but those are people who have elevated their mind universe to a higher frequency. In other words, while we may be on channel 2, they are on channel 200, and even these people communicate photon to photon. We have to adopt a new way, a way back to our natural state. I want to go into detail with you as to how to do this, but it will take more than just this one letter. But for now, I want you to consider this quantum fact. When a photon makes an alpha wave, it is picked up by electrons. When electrons become excited, they are picked up by photons. You will get through, you must get through, for that is how the science works. This is called a transactional interpretation of physicist Richard Feynman. In my next letter, we will get into the actual work of making contact the way we did before we came here, the way that works. And this ends the first part. The letter that Bill Donahue wrote is to be something that will be added to in a second letter. Who knows, maybe a third and a fourth. And this is very exciting, and I want him to know that I love his work and the way he expresses himself, and I hope that he does not mind that I have taken the liberty to use his words and express them through some of the pictures that I take of photons of light. And I believe these photons of light do communicate. And I will just interject this here. I think they can communicate best when we are intensely emotional in a positive way. And I also think that sometimes when we're sad, intensely sad, there can be a communication that happens even then, because that did seem to happen to me at one time. And it is important to understand the photons because, to my way of thinking, photons are light. Light is energy. Energy speeded up is spirit. Slowed down, it's matter. And if we can communicate with the electrons, then I think we will have great assistance in improving, changing completely our lives here and the lives of many others. So this is very important to understand light and its movements. It's an energy. It has intelligence. It can be communicated with. And this we will learn better how to do. And I am very excited about this new study that Bill Donahue has started here. Any comments that you wish to leave me, that would be nice. I love to get comments. This is the Dove Lady, over and out for now.